Hi everyone, I'm James Villeneuve. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Echosec Systems. We're an industry leader in data discovery for threat intelligence. And today I want to talk about the image we've all been looking at for years, one that is synonymous with conversations about the deep and dark web, the iceberg. The surface, deep, and dark web have long been described as distinct segments comprising the internet, but the truth is, online threats never unfold in digital silos, and neither should OSINT strategies. As investigations become more complex and overlap more digital channels, intelligence professionals need to embrace the fact that threats happen in every layer of the internet, and nefarious activity is often staring us right in the eye in data sources that can be searched easily via Google. Because of this, investigators need to be able to search seamlessly between social media platforms, deep websites, and dark web content. This enables more comprehensive and efficient investigating and gathers insights that may be overlooked through a more siloed approach. So, we feel that it's time to sink the iceberg. Instead of focusing on the layers of the internet, we should be focusing on the intersection of the networks and how they are used, regardless of how nefarious they are perceived. I understand that you're all experts in this field, so I'm going to keep it really brief with an introduction into deep, dark, and surface web, and I mean really brief. With the surface web, we often simplify the definition of surface or clear web to anything you can Google, as I noted before. That means public-facing articles, blogs, and even some public social media accounts. Then we turn to the deep web, which is broadly defined as anything that is not indexed by traditional search engines. Unsurprisingly, the deep web is also home to criminality, but so too is the clear web. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the dark web. I know there are some really fantastic experts speaking during this event. I'll just say that the dark web does not monopolize cybercrime. This year we thought a little myth busting was in order. We are operating in one of the fastest evolving spaces there is, so why are we still using this old stale metaphor? Here are some common myths and what we believe to be a more accurate explanation. Hopefully these myths can spark some conversations between us at the virtual cocktail hour. There will be a virtual cocktail hour, right? Okay, here we go. Myth number 1. The most nefarious threats are on the dark web. This is no longer true for a number of reasons. When was the last time you found a piece of information in a dark web marketplace that didn't exist anywhere else, like a subreddit, a social media platform, or a paste site? Surface and deep web data sources are just as valuable as the dark web for uncovering threats. For example, Islamic terrorism is often associated with the dark web, but decentralized social networks and chat applications like Telegram are also widely used by these groups. The dark web has anonymity on its side, but deep and surface web have a much farther reach, which is very important for extremist activities like planning and recruiting. Myth number 2. The deep web and dark web contain the most internet data. This may be true in terms of volume, but the surface web gets way more traffic. The dark web is actually relatively small compared to the deep web and surface web. The dark web is inaccessible and clunky to use on the best of days. So even though it offers anonymity, criminals often use the deep web and surface web for a farther reach with their audiences. Myth number 3. Criminality and other nefarious threats are not really present on the surface web. If you ever look at the iceberg, you'll see the very top of the surface web often says things like Google, Bing, Facebook, and LinkedIn, but the surface web also hosts an immense amount of dangerous communities and threat actors. There are many examples that bust this myth: the spread of disinformation, evidence of fraud, user profiles and activity linked to deep and dark web users advertising illegal goods and services, and leaking data, prominent data breaches that we see time and time again. We've seen countless examples over the years of workers posting their ID badges and internal photos on their social media profiles, and I'm sure you've encountered this as well. Here's a screenshot showing somebody on Reddit posting "want map photos with detailed zone and camera placement for a standard Kohl's department store." Here you go. We found this post in less than a minute using Echosec, and we confirmed afterwards that this particular thread was in fact discoverable via Google. Of course, using Echosec was faster than using Google because we were able to quickly remove the noise by using multiple keyword filters. How many of you have ever considered Flickr to be a threat intelligence data source? I'm guessing not too many of you. Flickr has actually been used by some commercial security customers within Echosec to find valuable threat intelligence information, including factory goods that were being sold online through Flickr in a South American country. Myth number 4. Investigators need separate, specialized tools to investigate surface, deep, and dark web spaces effectively. Tools that combine these sources are actually more effective for pivoting. Investigations that start on the deep web and pivot to the dark and social media sites are far more valuable. While many available tools are specialized, there are also tools that prioritize making it easier to seamlessly pivot between areas of the web. For example, at Echosec Systems, we're crawling billions of posts across the surface, deep, and dark web every single day, from Telegram to Twitter, from Reddit to Pastebin, and hundreds of other platforms. We do this because we want your job to be easier. We know that if you can discover the data faster and more effectively, you can spend more time and energy on the important stuff, like delivering this intelligence to your clients so that these threat actors can be stopped. As analysts and investigators, you need to be equally focused on each area. We often hear people talking about the breadcrumb trail leading from the dark web to the surface, but it's important to understand that breadcrumb trails actually lead in both directions. The web is increasingly interconnected, and threat actor groups are most commonly operating in a number of different networks simultaneously. Threats travel fast, and networks get taken down and reappear somewhere every day. To do your job effectively, you need to recognize dangerous and illicit content, regardless of where it's posted. So to wrap things up, and I mean no offense to anybody that has used an iceberg analogy at OSMOSIS of years past or this year, but we'd like to suggest a new diagram and a new example of the desegregation of all internet webs, social, deep, and dark web, the mesh. We're hoping that in 2021, when we all meet in person in San Diego, we can sit down over a real cocktail hour and talk about this new example. Thank you very much.